Welcome back to the Workplaces YouTube channel. I'm here with Jen, a business builder at Workplaces. And today we're going to be talking about the silent wall. And Jen has a new program out with Workplaces that is called Business Proof Your Marriage. And this kind of goes along the same lines. This helps dig a little bit deeper into that topic and how miscommunication or non-communication can affect businesses and affect marriages. All right. So Jen, start us off.
Yeah, it's good to be here. I'm happy to be here. Always nice to record with you.
Yeah, thanks.
The biggest thing that I think messes marriages up, which is a confusion to most people, everybody thinks it's because of fight and there's an explosion and that's what kills it. But the interesting part in a relationship is that it usually is not the fight that's done it. It's the over time ongoing silence between the two people that builds this wall between them that becomes not overcomable. And then you get explosive on either side of the wall trying to bridge the gap between you. And that's what people see. And that's what you feel in a big way. But that's actually not the problem. The problem is the wall that you've built. And it's not one way or the other. It's not just one person that builds it. It's both people that build it. So what I found is when you're dealing with entrepreneurs and a spouse that's at home or running their own career, the spouse in the entrepreneurial scenario comes home and they're like, wow, I don't want to burden them. This was so stressful. I don't want to bring all of that and dump it on the table. So they stay silent. They don't share those things. Or they come home and they're like, wow, there's a whole bunch of going on. So I'll just put my stuff away and not share it. And so they add those bricks to the wall. Those are two little silent things that build. And then tomorrow, the spouse doesn't know what happened yesterday and why you're a little testy today. So you come in the door the next day, a little testy from the previous day that they have no knowledge of. Mm-hmm. And the spouse goes, oh, that feels risky. Why are they cranky? I didn't do anything. I don't know why they're coming in hot, right? And so they put a brick on the wall because they didn't go, hey, how are you? What's going on? Are you all right?
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so each side has its own way of putting a brick on the wall. It can be conflict. It can be the spouse at home goes, I need you to do X, Y, and Z. And the other one's trying to do it, not voicing that they're maxed out. There's all these various different ways. Each couple is going to be a little bit different on what those bricks are. But any marriage that's in challenge, there's going to be a wall between them that they've built over time. Of all the unsaid things, all the uncommunicated things that we all just carry around in suitcases that weigh us down. And then over time, you get so tired from carrying all of these things and you can't see your partner off of the wall that you've built together. And things just explode. And then they get fiery because you don't know what to do and you feel stuck and you feel powerless in it. And there's no way through it and you don't know what to do to break it down. And so you end up in this big fire. And that's what people see, the dumpster fires that happen within marriages. And that's when it can get really detrimental.
So when it comes to this wall, the wall of silence, I guess we'll call it that. What are some ways to, avoid building these walls? Because if that is a major sticking point between businesses being successful as well as having a successful marriage at the same time, what are some ways or strategies to help mitigate that?
Well, I think it starts way back at the beginning of choosing whether to start a business or choosing to get married, is actually talking about what kind of life you want. What do you need? Identifying what you need and being able to communicate that to your partner. It kind of starts way back then, which we all kind of know in theory, right? Want to pick the right partner when you're getting married. But then there's also when you're starting a business, is this the right time for you to start a business? And a lot of people don't backtrack. Should I even start? They just get an idea and they jump.
Right.
And then you're in the deep end drowning and taking your marriage down with it. And a lot of people don't talk with their spouse ahead of time, in high level maybe, but not how often do we need to actually have date night for us to survive? What's the absolute minimum? What is going to help us thrive? How are we going to make sure that we're not under financial pressure that's going to tear us down? Like, each person has their own level of stress resilience. So if a person doesn't know or has never experienced that stress resilience, then their level of tolerance for risk might be a lot lower. So one spouse might be like, yeah, I'm the business. I'm going to drive this. We're going to do it. And they're working 40 hours a week and working to build the business on the side. And they're like ships passing in the night. Mm-hmm. So it's actually discussing those things. And if you have a small family, like with young kids or a pregnant wife or, more on the way and expecting to grow that family, is now actually the time you want to be away the most, right? Mm-hmm. Is now the time where you want to leave your wife for 40 hours a week plus 40 hours building a business. I ran into somebody at a networking event this week and they said that I'm working full time and then coming home and building a business working full time. And their wife's like due in 3 months and they have a 3-year-old at home.
Wow.
And I'm going, wow, okay. Like, I don't know if you guys actually talk. Well, wife's not totally on board. Well, I can understand why the wife's not maybe totally on board, because she's developing a human and running a 3-year-old and doesn't even know what or when to expect her husband home, or she's by herself.
Right.
Right. And he's like, well, I'd like to get her on board. And I'm like, I'd like you to understand what kind of pressure she's under at home. I would like to bridge that gap. So I think people talking before they ever start the business and really digging into what we need to survive. Because if you don't do that, the likelihood of the business not surviving anyway. So if you put the perspective on the business and you build the business, that's great. But if the relationship underneath it doesn't survive, that'll probably tear the business down in the end anyways. So you're really shooting yourself in the foot no matter which way you go, unless you keep the connection with your spouse.
Yeah. It's common sense, right? Yeah. It's really common sense that, you should communicate openly with your spouse about big changes that you're going to make in your life, especially entrepreneurial changes. And, it just seems like it's common sense of what you would do, but people avoid conversations assuming the other person just knows.
Right.
Right. So assumptions, we know what assumptions do, right? When you assume. So I guess what would be a initial conversation or strategy that, couples should have before jumping into entrepreneurship?
Yeah. I mean, it starts with having those conversations. Is now when we want to start a business? Are we starting a family? Are we not? Are the kids old enough for me to be able to be away? Whether it's mom or dad that's away. Can the kids, do I want to sacrifice that? I'm going to miss sporting events and school things, and if I'm going to build a business and work? Or does the financial stuff, maybe I don't need to maintain a job while I'm doing that. Maybe I can jump in. Maybe our finances are okay. But pre-talking about the risk level, and are we okay if our savings drops? Are we okay if this happens? So you know where your lines in the sand are, so you can understand each other.
Yeah.
And also, if you picked this person to walk through life with, and they're like, no, I don't want to build a business. I do not want to be the cheerleader at home raising 3 kids on my own. No. Well, then you have to come to terms and respect that, because otherwise resentment's going to build. And I think I'm the driven type person in my home. And there's times where I've completely run over my husband and just gotten my own way and been like, I'm doing it tough. Right. And then I pay for it later.
Right.
So getting out of my own way and like respecting the person I chose to spend life with is one part of it. The other part is the person that's maybe a little bit more quiet, actually stepping up and voicing what's important to them and what they need. And maybe saying no, even if your partner has emotions around it, to actually say, no, I just like, this doesn't feel right to me. I'm not okay with it. Yeah. I don't want to, that's not the life I want or signed up for.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And, when it comes to entrepreneurship, it's difficult. Like it's hard no matter if you're doing it on your own or if you're married or planning on it or growing a family. You have to be prepared and make the wise choices, like count the cost. What's it going to cost to, if I don't make any sales, if I don't get any projects, how long can I go until like I need to get a job? Right. So having some, finances ready to go, earmarked for growth and earmarked for just in case stuff doesn't work out as you had hoped and planned, having that plan ahead of time. And I think when it's, involving a family and kids and stuff, that you guys have to come together and have a plan. Like, what is the plan? What does this look like? And be realistic about it, right? Don't have, pie in the sky dreams and hopes, because hope isn't a strategy. You need to really be able to identify the financial strain, the time constraints, relationship constraints, and all of that. So, do you help couples with these conversations and with pre-planning if they want to start a business, or if they're in the middle of a business? Okay, we're running into some conflict. How can we, make this more palatable for the other? Absolutely.
So we talked a little bit about the before you start a business conversation.
Sure.
So yes, we can absolutely help with that. Help people understand each other and get to what real understanding is and make a plan. Absolutely. Because we do business plans all the time and help startups. So definitely. And if there's a relationship involved, we try to have both parties there for that planning process, to include the marriage and the family dynamic in that. If, however, a customer's or a client has already started a business and they're like, oh gosh, like the client, like the person I ran into at the networking event with a baby on the way. Well, they're already in it. They've already invested. They've already done the things to start, and they're in conflict already. So those type of people, yes, we can help too, because it could be the marriage that's problematic and not communicated, and that silent wall is building. It could be the business that's not running. The marriage actually could be okay. There's both scenarios. The marriage could be good, but it's under pressure because the business isn't. And then they need business help and a business plan and support on how to grow and knowing what step to take when. And we're business builders. That's absolutely in our wheelhouse and what we do.
Yeah.
So if the business is the issue, then we can take the pressure off the relationship by actually building the business properly. The flip side can also be true. The business can actually be really good and running on its own, or functional, at least functional and like maintaining, and the marriage is falling apart because of that silent wall that's built over the last 5 years of building the business. So now the business is good. The marriage is almost done. Right. And so those people that have built this brick wall over time, there's a lot more relationship resolving to do, to build through that and to tear down the wall between them and to have understanding and to communicate through the challenges that built the wall in the first place. Right?
Okay, well, let's talk about strategies to help break down a wall if that's been built up over time. What do you do in that case?
I mean, there's a couple of things when you're a busy life or a busy family that I think are really helpful. And that's like cordoning off and protecting time. And looking at that, every other Saturday thing, making that the red tape unless somebody's dying. You can employ that even down the road when there's challenges in the relationship. Because if you don't have time and connection with each other, you can't even hope to deal with the elephant in the room, right? So if there's no love, there's no connection, there's no affinity between you, and the net that you've built in your relationship has holes in it, the love and connection is what creates that solid net. If you drop an elephant into a net with holes in it, it's breaking apart. So the first step is always to build enough connection that it can withstand the ability to talk about the hard things. I know for me, I'm the talker. I want to resolve it. I don't like things hanging over. I don't like limbo. I have a specific personality type that does that. And then my partner, being the opposite of me, is like, what, I'm content to just leave it and let it rest. And I'm like, I don't like this hanging over me. So my tendency is to be like, we have to deal with this. I'm not going to bed. We have to deal with this. And I keep putting the elephant in the net that keeps shredding underneath it. And it doesn't work. So sometimes I have to take a step back and go, oh, okay, we just need time to like, why do you love me? Why did we start dating? Why did we get married? What brings us together? Why are we building this together? What is happy about life? And why do we like each other still? So that we can reconnect some of those frayed edges to remember what we're in it for. I'm building those like, hey, do you want to have coffee? Do you want to go for a walk together? Do you want to sit on the couch next to me while the kids play? Those connection moments. And when there's enough connection moments, then your net can hold up to dealing with maybe a bigger issue. Then we have the component of, well, now you have to talk about the issue.
Right.
So you can't just silently put another brick on the wall. You actually have to talk about how you feel and what's going on, which starts with identifying what in me I need resolved. What is it that's not okay? How am I feeling and what's going on for me that needs resolution? And so I have to actually look at it. Sometimes I have to put my face against the wall and actually look at what's in my heart. And then I have to get it across to my spouse.
Right.
In a way he can receive it. Mm-hmm. The flip part of that is when we're giving feedback about what is needed and how, like, I need you home Saturday mornings. I need you to not make me the one that's waking up with the kids. I need, like, whatever the need is, to voice it. And then the spouse has to be like, oh, I really hear you. Not, well, I can't do that. And there's no way I could make that happen. And I have a client and I have that, right? Yeah. Like, you have to actually go, wow, I'm really hearing you want me home and you need a day to sleep in, or you need like, I'm hearing you. I'm not sure if I can do Saturday. What if we could do, and actually coming to problem solving together. I mean, we problem solve with the rest of the world and with our clients. But when it's the relationship that matters the most to us, typically that's the one we get defensive because we're scared or we're feeling justified or upset, right?
You made a good point there where, we're always willing to rearrange our schedule for clients, for customers, for employees or whatever. But when it comes to, the people at home who really, you care about and you want to build a life with and a future with, that you're less willing to compromise and less willing to, sacrifice the clients or the work for them. And you have to flip the script on that and be like, wait a minute. Those clients can wait because this is more important. They might be gone, next week, or when I'm done this task, I may never see them again. Yeah. This person here, I want to grow old with, right? And raise a family and have a life with. So, you better, realize what the priorities should be.
Exactly.
And, think long-term, right? It's not just about today. It's about 5 years, 10 years, 25 years down the road. What is your life going to look like? I know it always comes up in memes or in social media or in conversations. People on their deathbed don't say, oh, I wish I could have worked a little bit harder, right? Oh, I wish I could have, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, no, they're like, I wish I wouldn't have blown it with my family.
Right.
Right. So think about the end, right?
Yeah.
Who do you want?
Well, and I think the hard part in that is that we start a business usually for our family. So we want to make sure we're paying the bills and we don't want to add more pressure to the finances. So the client is important and we need those clients to pay the bills. And we get into this pattern around, well, they come first because I'm doing it for my family. But if you take a step back, just like you said, looking long-term, if you don't put the client off sometimes, maybe not every time, or maybe not the high clients, but it's being conscious about that decision and not getting into like a pattern every time so that you can step back and see, oh, this is the person I want to build my life with. This is the long term. They're going to be here after the client. Yeah. And also, if the business can't grow as fast, I guess that client's not yours. They weren't meant for you
Mm-hmm.
because you made a decision when you started or early on, or when you sat down with your spouse and figured it out. This is how fast the business can grow based on what we've designed as a family. And that means you can't take that client.
Okay, Jen, seems like the theme of this discussion is communication.
Yeah.
Or the lack thereof. Right?
Straight up. It's the biggest thing.
Yeah, the biggest thing. So maybe share some insights as to how they should communicate with each other, how these couples in an entrepreneurial, relationship should communicate with each other in order to not build that brick wall and or start removing some bricks from that wall to enhance the trust and the partnership that they have.
I've caught myself in patterns where I avoid things when I'm tired, when the kids are a lot, where there's stuff going on, but it's just not big enough to we're booking Saturday to talk, or I'm getting a sitter, or I'm right. We end up in these patterns where you just let the stuff that's not real comfortable go. And it doesn't become a big thing until it's a big thing. And so holding myself accountable to be like, that's not really the life that I want. And I need to talk about it. And I actually need to share that. And it might be a 5-minute conversation. It might be longer. It might be something that's a bigger conversation underneath it. But I think either way, whether it's the entrepreneur coming home feeling criticized, or, the honey-do list is so long it's not functional, or the spouse at home that is like, you're never here, and when you're here, you're not. Voicing those things in a way that the other person can actually hear you, which is tricky. It's not taught. Communication is not taught. Conversation is taught. We converse in our culture, but real communication where understanding is the result isn't taught.
Mm-hmm.
So as a person that's receiving communication that might be contentious or prickly from my partner, I have to receive it in a way where I'm not going to be defensive, which means I have to not have a shame response to being told my spouse is not happy. Oh, well, then that's your fault, or that's this issue, or that's that issue, and you should do something about it. Well, I can take that defensive posture, which is typically what most people do in our populace. We defend with your boss, your employer, right? We just get defensive because we don't want to feel that crunchiness of, oh, I messed up and I need to make a change, or I need to do something different. So owning it, owning that your spouse is not happy, owning that, hey, there's something going on over there. And I love them so much that I want to adapt and make a shift to have their experience be amazing, right? A really simple example is I'm a bit of a daredevil when I drive. I'm a country girl. So I've driven quads. Dirt roads, me and snow are fun. I drive a stick shift. I love it. I have a lot of fun when I drive. Okay. There's some people when I get in the car though, they're like this, right? And they're like, wow, I'm feeling really uncomfortable. I could be like, it's your problem, right? I'm safe. I'm good. There's no issue. But they're going, their level of anxiety is very different. And they're trying to express it to me. I could be like, no, that's a you issue, which technically it is. But do I care enough that they're in the car with me and that I love this human that's sitting next to me, whether it's my spouse or my kids, enough to go, yeah, you're right. Okay, I'll chill out, right?
Yeah.
And when I put it in a driving sense, it makes so much sense. Yes, they're going to have a very different experience of my driving than I am. What's the problem? I love this. And I'm safe and we're on the road. What's the issue? And I'm driving fast and I'm right. And they're having a very different experience of what I'm loving.
Right.
Right. That's how life goes. We're two different people experiencing the same car ride, having very different experiences. So do I love the person I'm sitting next to enough to adjust? Not because what I think I'm doing is wrong or that there should be shame in how I'm driving, but because their experience of it is causing them problems. It's anxiety, they're stressed, they're on the roof, right?
Yeah.
So that's how communication is. But we don't typically think about it that way. We think about it more of, I'm in trouble. She has another, we need to talk scenario, right? And we get defensive versus, oh, you're not okay. What's going on over there? How can I adjust so that our joint experience of our life together is amazing? Because when we're both happy, we're both thriving, man, stuff gets done. Things happen.
Right.
And we succeed together.
Mm-hmm. And that's really what you want, right? You want the success to be shared. Even if the other spouse does not work in the business or helps out with the business, you still want to have that shared success experience and really celebrate the wins, right? Sounds to me a lot like in communication, what you're saying, half of it is talking, but the biggest point is really being able to listen. Like listening is a very difficult thing for us to do as humans and as entrepreneurs as well, right? Listening is a perishable skill and it takes work, and we always have to try and improve on it. If we're not practicing real listening, then we just go back to barely hearing what the person is saying and coming up with a response while they're talking. Yeah. Right. So do you have any advice for that? Because we are all good at just kind of blowing it off and thinking, okay, I'm going to get you on this one.
I'm still working on this. Okay. So yes, I teach on it, but man, there are different stages of my life where I'm better at this than others.
Yeah. Like I said, it's a perishable skill. We all are working on it. Yeah.
But I find if I'm thinking about my next response, I'm not listening. Right. So if there's thoughts going through my head about my day, about my business, about my job, about my kids, I am no longer listening. And in conversation, we're thinking about what are we going to say next? How are we going to engage with this to have a relationship? But through that, we're actually not listening to what's being said. We're just, how are we going to integrate what we're saying next into the conversation? Which is why conversation is very different than communication and real dialogue. So the biggest thing that I've found in me, even when I'm like crunchy about what might be coming across, the safety zone for me to listen well is curiosity. So if I'm curious about what's happening over there because I love that person, whether it's my teenagers who are blowing a gasket over dinner dishes, right? Hey, what's happening? What's going on over there? Why is this bothering you? And with my teenagers that don't communicate well, and they have not learned this skill, and they don't know what real listening is, they're just blowing up. It's a really good place to practice communication. But if I'm not curious about their experience of their life, what they're thinking about, how they're feeling, then I'm not really hearing them. I'm just thinking about how to get control over the circumstance. So I have to let go of control. I have to let go of what I'm trying to accomplish and like set my agenda on a shelf and set it aside and go, tell me more about that. Why are you feeling this way? Why are you coming home crunchy today? Why is today a come in the door hot day? Right? Why is this stressing you out? Well, that doesn't seem stressful to me. Why is this stressing you out? What's the actual problem underneath it? Well, I'm stressed about paying the bills, so I need that client. Why do you need that client? Well, because of X, Y, and Z. And you dig layers deeper, right? Tell me why. Why is that bothering you? So if you come from it from curiosity, number one, because you're curious, you're not trying to fill the gap, which means you're probably not thinking about your own stuff that it's like I'm trying to convince them or get my point across or control them. It doesn't often feel like control, but that's what we're doing. We want everything else out there to be the way that we like it so that it feels safe to us and we know how to respond in it. That's a form of control, subtle manipulation. And we do it all the time. Like, I'd rather be at Starbucks than second cup, right? Like it's the subtle things what happens. But if we're curious about the people we're walking beside, like what's actually happening over there, what's in their mind, what's in their heart, what do they need? Why do they need it?
Yeah.
The curiosity changes my perspective and my positioning and my ability to listen. And if the person across from me throws out something that's painful, ouch.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Being able to share how you feel about it too.
So is there anything else regarding the silent wall that we haven't discussed or you'd like other people to know about?
Oh, the impact to the kids. The impact to the kids. I was raised by entrepreneurs that eventually split up, and when I was in my 20s, and we're in a successful business for 25 years. We're up to like 30, 40 employees. I had 2 companies running under the same. So my parents from the outside looked very successful. Walking through my junior high and high school years when I had older brothers, so they had moved out or were just into different things. So I was the last one home. So I kind of saw the tail end of that wall being built before explosions happened. And I can tell you from the person walking it, even if there's not explosions in the house, your kids feel it. Your kids feel it.
Yeah, they're not dumb.
No.
Yeah.
And so when that wall gets built through all the things that are not said and the resentments that build and you're firmly set on doing your own things, going in different directions, the kids are there going, this isn't how it's supposed to be. This doesn't feel right. And they're running in circles around the wall that you've built, trying to bridge the gap and find a way to pull you back together. Because we, as kids, love our parents. Like it's innately, genetically built into us. Right. And so then we have kids that are like trying to solve our very adult problems because we've ignored it and put the brick on the wall and not gotten the help and not stood up and voiced the thing. Well, I've said it before and he's still not doing it. Voice it again. Say it again. Well, he's still not listening and he went and did the same thing he said he'd never do again. Well, then you have to have a conversation about that. You can't just keep letting it slide because that's more and more bricks on the wall.
Right.
And it impacts your kids. It impacts your family. It impacts your ability to, even if you don't have kids, I talk about kids a lot, but even if you don't, you're just more and more divided trying to run your life and you're carrying the brick wall behind you.
Right.
Right. So even if there's no kids involved, it's still detrimental for you to be living your life. And so you either have to make a decision that this wall is not tear downable after getting help and all those things and find a way to move on and live life and make different decisions so that you can live life happy.
Right.
Or you have to like tear the wall down or build a bridge over it and let it be water under the bridge. If you don't, your spouse, your kids, every relationship that's peripheral to you is going to feel the impact.
Wow.
So if communication is something that you're feeling might not be where you want it to be in your marriage, or you haven't had that pre-conversation prior to starting the business and now you're drowning, we'd love to have a conversation with you. We have a course coming up called Business Proof Your Marriage. You can go to the website at forworkplaces.com/businessproofyourmarriage. It's an 8-week course. And predominantly the focus is on communication and actually giving you tools in your tool belt to be able to tear down the wall, communicate effectively, have understanding every time so that even in 5 years from now, you hit another crunchy spot, you have this tool and you can go back to it and have ways to communicate that feel safe, where you can hear each other and have understanding. So I'd love to offer that to everybody.
Nice. That's perfect. Thanks so much, Jen, for sharing with us today. And I suggest you go to 4, that's the number 4, workplaces.com and check out the Business Proof Your Marriage seminar that they're going to be hosting. And we'll see you guys on the next video.